So you've signed up for the Grammarian Role at your Toastmasters club, but you're a little bit unsure if you're totally prepared for the role or what's going to be involved at the meeting. Don't worry, you've come to the right place. Today I'm going to talk about the Grammarian Role and the most important things you need to know to crush it. Hey everyone, my name is Wade Patterson and I am passionate about Toastmasters and communication in general. And before we get started with this grammarian video, I want you to hit that subscribe button and like this video and leave a comment. Let me know if you've done the Grammarian Role before, if you're brand new to Toastmasters. Let me know what brought you to this video and even what videos you'd like to see me cover in the future. So there are two main purposes to the Grammarian Role, and the first one is picking a word of the day. Now it's important to pick a word that is going to challenge the other club members' vocabulary, but also set them up for success. So I've seen some examples of words that are a little bit too easy and too common, used all the time. And then I've also seen words that are so difficult that nobody ends up using that word throughout the meeting. So you want to come prepared with a great word. A few of the words I like are things like nostalgia or trepidation or benevolent, words that aren't commonly used every single day, but most people have heard of at some point. So the preparation part means that you need to have that word in a visible space that you can spread throughout the meeting. So in our particular club, the grammarian always comes with printed off sheets of paper with the word as well as a brief description, and also having that word used in a sentence, which is really helpful because if another Toastmaster in the club didn't catch what you said during your Grammarian Role when you go and speak to everyone, they can still see that piece of paper that shows the word and shows an example of how it can be used along with that definition. Now, one of the most important things, and this goes for myself because my eyesight isn't always the greatest, but make sure that the word is really visible, printed off in huge letters, and then the definitions can be a little bit smaller below. That's a little bit less important, but make sure that word is visible. Print off a few different pieces of paper, so before the meeting starts, you can hang those up, bring a little bit of tape them up in different spots throughout the room, so that no matter where your Toastmasters members are sitting, they're able to see that that is the word of the day. So the Grammarian Role itself really is broken down into three parts: speaking, listening, and then speaking once again. So early on in the meeting, and the thing to remember is that every Toastmasters club often has a bit of a different structure on what the actual agenda looks like, but in most clubs meetings, you will have the grammarian who comes up toward the beginning of the meeting to give a report and explain what the Grammarian Role is and what things you as the grammarian will be looking for. I already mentioned that first one. You're going to introduce a word of the day and give a couple of examples of how Toastmasters can use that word in a sentence, also perhaps give the definition of the word. But then the second part that you're going to explain to the club is the other part of the Grammarian Role, and that is to be listening carefully throughout the meeting. And you're going to be listening for two things. First off, great uses of language and vocabulary that went beyond low-hanging fruit. The second thing you're going to be looking for is any Toastmasters members who used a word when really there was an opportunity to use a better word or a more descriptive word. So for example, let's say it's during table topics, somebody is giving an answer and they keep using the word good. They say, I had a good weekend, there's a lot of good things that happened. Well, no, you can start to mix in different words. You can say, I had an amazing weekend. There were phenomenal things that happened. I had such an incredible time. And by giving suggestions like that, it's going to help the other club members. So that's the first part of the Grammarian Role, is the speaking. It's introducing the word of the day, it's explaining what the role is, and informing everyone that you're going to be listening for great uses of language and opportunities when members could have spoken a little bit more clearly or used better vocabulary. The second part of the role is the listening. So for the rest of the meeting, you're going to be listening very carefully for great examples of vocabulary, and you're going to want to have a pen and a piece of paper so that you can write those things down and make notes of which club members used which words. And just like I said before, you're also going to be listening for examples of when club members could have used a better word than they chose to use. And you're going to want to have one column on that piece of paper for word of the day and track all of the club members who were able to use the word of the day throughout the meeting. One thing our club loves to do when somebody uses the word of the day is start knocking on the table. It's sort of an encouraging thing, and it draws everyone's attention that, hey, there is this word of the day that's out there, and maybe I can use it when I stand up and speak at my next opportunity. By the way, there are so many things in Toastmasters that are relevant to real life. Like maybe you're wondering, like, what's the point of this grammarian? And well, if you ever have an opportunity to speak in front of a crowd, you can really gain an audience trust very quickly by using strong vocabulary. But on the other side, you can really lose an audience quickly if you use the wrong word to explain something. So if you use a word incorrectly, that can lose some trust with your audience. And so what's important as grammarian to track those types of things. And if you hear somebody using something incorrectly, let them know, because for all you know, they might not even have an idea that they're using that word wrong. So we've talked about the initial speaking part of the grammarian role, and then the second part, which is listening, and then the third part is once again speaking. At the end, you will have your chance to give your report, which will include several things. First off, all of the uses of the word of the day, calling out the club members and how many times they use that word, as well as the listening part where you caught great uses of language, and that'll be referencing your notes. And the final aspect is those opportunities when somebody could have used a better word than they chose to use. Now, like any role in Toastmasters, sometimes it's tempting to have our notes, and especially a role like evaluation or grammarian or awe counter, it's very tempting. But what I would challenge you to do is have your notes with you, but don't sit there and just stare at your notes. Make sure you're still doing all of the effective forms of communication. One tactic I love to use is if there's a podium or somewhere where Toastmasters can put their notes, I like to actually turn that sideways beside me and have my notes there and still speak in front of the group, addressing all of the members, and then quickly taking a glance to address where I am and then facing the audience again. It's by this practice that it's less distracting. Like I say, if you have a single piece of paper in your hands and your head is buried, people are just looking at your forehead. They're not seeing your eyes. They're not seeing that eye contact. So even if you have notes, you want to still make sure that you're making eye contact as you give your grammarian introduction as well as your grammarian report at the end. I hope this video helps you take on your next grammarian role with gusto. I can't wait to hear about how it goes. Feel free to drop a comment and like this video, subscribe to this channel, because it's my goal to be delivering a lot more videos on Toastmasters and how you can be a great Toastmaster and take on every single role that's out there.